You're listening to Tehachapi with Key Budge, Corey Costello, and Greg Garrett.
Welcome to Tehachapi. I'm Key Budge. Today with me, Corey Costello, Greg Garrett. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing today?
Doing great, Key. Yeah. Thank you.
Happy to be back.
You know, today is a special show. I've been working on this for almost a year, and we finally got the call from Washington, D.C., that our Congressman, Kevin McCarthy, is going to call in live and join us here in a few minutes.
That's exciting.
It's been crazy to see his. I mean, I worked with Congressman McCarthy many years ago when he was a state assemblyman, and he would stop into my radio studio and be on the shows with the guests of the shows I produced like it was no big deal, you know, and so he was just, at that point, he was just Kevin McCarthy, you know.
I remember the first time I met him, it was a Mountain Festival parade. He was a state assemblyman. I met him, and I told my wife, he's going somewhere.
Yeah.
This guy's got the look, the feel, the brains, everything about him is leadership. Yeah. And look what we have today. Minority leader.
Mm-hmm.
And this will be my first opportunity to talk to him, to meet him, so I'm looking forward to that. It's been, like I said, a year in the making. He was one of the first contacts I reached out to try and get him on the show, and he's been so busy. We were in an election year, so I kind of understand that.
And he's got so much, also COVID. I mean, there's so many things, right? I mean, just on
and everything, right. Every piece of legislation he has an involvement in being the minority leader,
right?
And so they've got to figure out positions and that kind of stuff. And he's obviously done other roles such as, you know, minority whip and that kind of stuff. So he's got to pull everybody on every piece of legislation.
But he was kind enough to send us in special messages for our active military and our veterans for those two shows that we did in the past year.
He's always been a big supporter of veterans, and who's not, right?
Yeah. So I'm excited to have him on the show and actually get to ask questions, and that'll be coming up in just a minute. But we've been busy. Corey, Greg, you've been busy yourself, but Corey and I have done the last couple of shows together, and we were talking about how busy 2021 has started. Mm-hmm. You know, the COVID is still here, and it's evolving, and things are changing, and we're trying to work with all the guidelines and make sure our businesses prosper. But we've had something launch. You know, here, our small business loyalty program launched here in March, and we're off and running with it. We've already had people come into City Hall with receipts here to redeem a gift card.
Well, it helps that we have, you know, the best communication department in the county, in the county of Key Budge, state of California, who's promoted the heck out of this thing. And I wanted to share a story. You know, Primo Burgers, right across the street, conveniently located from City Hall. So obviously a lot of us frequent the place. You had done some interviews with Channel 23 on Sunday,
right?
And I went in there this afternoon and was talking to the owner, and she just said randomly, Sunday was so busy. She goes, being on the news helped us because we did double the business we normally do on a Sunday. And today's been just as busy, and usually Mondays are a little slower. And I've been telling everybody to save the receipts and go to City Hall and combine it with other stuff. So they're on board, but we're already starting to see that benefit of just the promotional aspect of the program, getting people thinking about our small businesses and restaurants and stuff like that again.
There's nothing like testimonial word of mouth.
Yeah.
You know, that is the best advertisement
or
you can
the
have.
Worst. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Depending. Right?
Sure.
Word of mouth will
You're
make
right.
or break you.
Yeah.
Right. You know, it's very true. But if you're doing something right, and this program is doing something right, and these local businesses see, I mean, that's an instant return on the investment. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting. When Corey called me to give me that, I was like, yes. And there was other things we've seen on our social media, some comments about, you know, I've never tried this restaurant where we had shot
Four Seasons Cafe,
we did a video there, and someone asked, where is that? I shared it to him, and they said, that's the best restaurant in town, you know, and I was like, wow, this is very positive. And
that so was the thought process, to get people thinking about those places that, like, I even forget about, I forgot about that place, you know, because I have my three favorites, whatever it might be, you know. So I think that was the point, is to get people maybe to think about going to Four Seasons Cafe, or going to Primo's, or going to Gallery and Gifts and buying something, you know, and that kind of stuff. So reminding folks what we have in the community was.
We just need to continue to support our businesses in this city and in this community. It's so important. They're our friends, they're our family, they're our neighbors, and we don't want anyone to close. We want you to thrive and continue to prosper.
You know, and that was one of the things when I did the TV interviews Saturday and Sunday was we're neighbors helping neighbors.
Yeah,
we live next to the people that own these businesses. Yeah. We want them to succeed.
Right.
We need to help them. We're not going to have people from the outside come. We need to help each other. So it's,
and we'll get into this a little bit with Congressman McCarthy, but you know, there's a way to do stimulus stuff, right? The federal government's answer is we're going to send you money, but for us, like, we don't really have that option, right? We don't have the the resources to just hand money out to small businesses. But the best way to help them is to get consumers back in them shopping again. And so that was one of the goals of this program, was to remind people and to get them back and let them be their own stimulus by just generating traffic.
And we'll have to ask Congressman McCarthy a little bit about the stimulus and what was just signed, and specifically, the restaurant aspect.
Yep.
I think that's hopefully something that he can comment on for us.
Right.
And there's still work to be done on that. I mean, the House passed one version. It goes to the Senate because it's a budget appropriations item. And so that's where it's going to really get its trial by fire, and stuff's going to be cut out before it actually goes to the president's desk for approval.
And there seems like there's always pork, right? Somebody wants, a bus or a train or a plane or, a bridge or something. And I'm sure it's all very important and means a lot to that area. But, the fact of the matter is we need to help businesses that are in business now.
Right. I don't know if you hear that, but our phone's ringing. Today on Tehachapi, we've got a special guest that's calling in from Washington, D.C. It is our Congressman, Kevin McCarthy. Sir, welcome to Tehachapi.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
This is actually your third time on our show. You may not know it. The first time that's live with us, the other two times you sent special messages for our military and veterans for special shows that we did. So we want to say thank you for that, because those were special introductions to those podcasts.
Well, thank you for doing that for the veterans. We can never do enough for them.
We can never do enough, and thank you for keeping them in our forefront, keeping them out there, because we cannot do enough to thank them.
Well, Congressman, I wanted to certainly get into the topic on the Hill right now, the stimulus, and I know there's been plenty of criticism from what you've seen in it, but there's also good things in it that I know you are supportive of, getting some of that aid to people that need it. And I want to touch on a couple of those, specifically the Restaurants Act of 2021, the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, which is going to be managed by the Treasury potentially, should this get through the Senate, and that and what that sort of means to helping these restaurants that really need it, and the overall scope of getting aid to folks that actually need this stimulus.
Well, there's so many who need it. And remember, we did 5 different bills, and there's $1 trillion that we've appropriated that still has not gone out. A lot of money for schools. PPP has really, when you look back, was a pretty good success of creating a new program, getting money out there for small businesses. There's still 51% of the money that we just voted on in December in PPP that is still sitting there. I think that is a perfect place to go, especially for restaurants. Unfortunately, in our state, our governor did something different than Florida did. It kept us shut down, and there's a number of them that might not ever be able to open back up again. That's why we do need more assistance for the restaurants to be able to stay there. And we've done a few things for them that we did even in the last December bill, especially with tax code, tax incentives. As we open back up, if California would let us, that you could write off your meals and business again, giving people the incentive to go back out and eat, helping restaurants to try to survive as we go through this.
So what other things do you see, in this stimulus package that would be beneficial to either residents, business owners, consumers? I mean, the things out there that you think really are potentially needed and could benefit folks.
Well, unfortunately, this latest bill doesn't have as much benefit. Only 9% of it goes to COVID. It kind of became, it is the first COVID bill we did that the bipartisan vote was no then instead of yes. It seems as though special interest won out, there's a highway, a tunnel in Silicon Valley. It's more like pet projects instead of focusing, which I thought would be key, surgically who to help. But we still have that $1 trillion out there that is being appropriated now that was passed that could go out to help individuals. There'll be some checks going out, but it doesn't pinpoint really who there. It also helps some unemployment. That continues to be there. At times that plays devil's advocate. Sometimes it harms some of the small businesses if people are making more staying off work than coming back to work. Unemployment, the minimum wage didn't qualify in there. And that's different for all parts of the country. $15 could really hurt the small business being able to open back up.
If you listen to the nightly news, the average citizen gets so confused. You have local government, city of Tehachapi as we speak here. We have state government and then federal government. With us, you see us at the grocery store. You can ask questions, understand who we are, what we're doing for the city. But when you go up to the state and the federal level, I think people just get so confused and frustrated, and they just want help. They want to go back to work, and they just need some guidance, and it's so confusing. And it seems like moving the goalposts every day, nearly sometimes by the hour when we talk about COVID and these different bills that can help people. Where can people go, do you think, that is a one-stop shop for assistance? Is there any place of that sort?
I agree with you. It seems so frustrating. I mean, I personally believe government should just have three philosophies, right? Back to work, back to school, back to health. Let's solve those three, and then we can work on everything else. A lot of the problems we're finding and every state is different, so it's not a one-stop shop. If the federal goes out and lets you know what's in a bill, that doesn't mean that may be something different for Florida than it is for California if they stay shut down. Parents have now become more than just parents. They're the tutors, they're the teachers, they're the music teacher, they're the coach. And what we're finding locally, I know from all aspects, is that more children are getting D's and F's because it's harder. They've been out of school for so long. There's greater anxiety. There's greater suicidal thoughts. That's why we proposed just last week to take some of that money, the money that was going to that tunnel project, and $140 million, and put it into grants for parents to get help for the children when they get anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts. I mean, I thought that would be very, very helpful. There's no one-stop shop. I guess my website could be one of the best, or just give a phone call and we'll answer whatever question you may have. But, you got state jurisdiction, you got local, and you have all worked so hard, whereas you're trying to help within, not every city is the same. More people are rural within our districts, that we could open up in space and be able to stay afloat, and then the state comes down and shuts you down, and you just made an investment as a small business to put the heaters and set something outside. It makes it a little more difficult.
Right, so true. So we try very hard, and this is a perfect example. You're so gracious to come on our podcast today to talk about these sorts of things so that we can help others understand where you can go. Our website is full of information. We're always encouraging people to call or email us when it comes to COVID or anything else, right? Fill in the blank.
Yep. And information changes all the time. That's the interesting part about all this. So it's good to continue to keep it updated.
Congressman McCarthy, let me ask you a little bit closer here to home. We've got some things here around Kern County. One of those is the Highway 58 truck climbing lanes. Is there anything that you can tell us and maybe share with our commuters that are listening that get bogged coming back up to Tehachapi from their trip down to Bakersfield?
I understand that completely. My family, my great-grandfather, this ranch is still in the family, is in Caliente. 1873, worked on the railroad and got that little ranch just to go to the railroad crossing there. So I've been coming up and down that road for a long time. And it's tough with these trucks, especially when one wants to pass the other when you only have a couple lanes. Unfortunately, this is a state. Highway 58 is designated a state, but this is something I want to work with them, especially when we do the Centennial Corridor and others, when we've been doing with 58. How can we provide to alleviate that congestion, but also security and safety? A lot of people are driving through there. You've got a lot of truck traffic going through at the same time. We've got to have some bigger plans there to actually give some offshoot. I've worked with Supervisor Scribner about this. We've been pushing Caltrans to add that passing lane to alleviate congestion. It'd be part of a larger plan for Highway 58 as well as Interstate 40. It's handled at the state level, but I'm working from a federal level to try to share some of that cost to make it workable. But I do get concerned about that from a safety point of view, from security, and just from the ability for travel.
Yeah, you brought up the natural tie-in with the trip funding, and your predecessor, Congressman Bill Thomas, and he and I have chatted about that briefly too. All this money going into the Centennial Corridor to make that great connector, and he said the last thing I want to see is in the commerce basically halt just outside of Tehachapi because of the truck climbing situation. So, moving that interstate commerce and getting that connected to I-40, I mean that's something I think for sure would benefit the entire country when it comes to moving the goods and services across 58 and across the nation.
Oh, I believe that. And the one thing I do think is that this year we'll be able, hopefully, to get a good infrastructure bill. Long term, I think that's very strong for America. I think it'd be very helpful for us. Alleviation traffic, build new jobs, but also get the goods moving faster and helping us to stay competitive.
Well, thank you for your support on that project as we move through it with Kern Cog. Mayor Philip Smith is assisting on that. So we've got a lot of people aligned, and we're trying to make it a reality. That's for sure. A little closer to home. Thank you very much for your support for the AVA, the American Viticulture Area, for our local vineyards here in Tehachapi. What a big win for us. Can you elaborate on that a little more?
Yeah, I sat down with a couple of the wineries there and people in the community. This is why people have to continue to discover Tehachapi. There is so much there, and there's so much more gaining there. But to have your own variety, ability to develop that wine community, people just from Bakersfield, from others to come get away for a weekend, but see this business and good quality wine. One of the things you needed to have is when we sat and we brainstormed about ways that we could do this more, an AVA designation. I used to have Paso Robles in my district, and we did one for there too. So it gives you your own region, and it helps you build not only the reputation, but for people to understand where this is coming from. And I think you're going to continue to see more wineries grow there. It's a unique area, gives a unique taste. And I just think from tourism, from quality of life, it's going to continue to blossom for the Tehachapi area.
Well, we appreciate your support in achieving that title. So anything else that you would like to leave us with? I know that you have a very busy schedule. We appreciate your call from Washington, D.C. today, but anything you'd like to leave us with?
Well, I want to thank you for the work you've done. I realize even through the pandemic, you opened some more restaurants. You continue to look, and I appreciate you. You even do the podcast, ways that we can reach people. I know in the country today, everything seems at times so political, or people are at different positions. Really, the way we should look at things, that we're all Americans. If there's a problem, how's best to solve it? We can respect people from difference of opinion, but let's be willing to listen to it. And I don't think anybody would disagree with the focus of getting back to work, back to school, and back to health. Let's all work to achieve those three, and then we could debate the other things. But Tehachapi is such a unique place. People move there for the reason, the quality of life, the clean air, the community, that knowing one another, and everybody giving back. And I think you're doing that, and I appreciate that. Continuing to keep the history and the culture and the heritage. I think that's very important.
Respecting our past, planning for our future, and we're very blessed. God gave us a great valley, but also all the economic situations around us, whether it's aerospace, ag, oil, mining, on and on and on, tourism, they're all really great industries. So we just appreciate everybody pulling in the same direction.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the work you're doing. And I look forward to coming back on sometime.
We'd love to have you. Anytime you've got an open line to give us a call or stop by and visit. Thank you. We really appreciate your time.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Well, I enjoyed that conversation. It was, usually when I get to see Congressman McCarthy, it's on the news. And today it was on Tehachapi.
We're very fortunate to be represented well at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level. And it's always exciting. Kevin McCarthy he's a big deal. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, or just don't even care. It matters what he does and thinks. And we need to communicate with these guys. And they're communicating down to us too, which is so very important.
Yeah. And I think to have your representative in a leadership position is critical. Bakersfield and Kern County saw it for years with Bill Thomas, chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee. That was a giant deal. That helped secure a lot of funding for the transit projects going on in Metro Bakersfield right now, which have a benefit to all of us. When we visit that area or drive even out to the coast, and then to now have Congressman McCarthy in a few different positions that he's been in, and now being minority leader, whatever party, it doesn't matter, because that means that person has pull. So whatever happens in Kern County in this 23rd district, it's going to be meaningful. You're not just one of the many, and so I think sometimes when folks go after him because, well, he's just not my party. Well, yeah, but he's in such a high position that he is benefiting you because of his importance in Washington, D.C.
Well, and the thing that we do at the City of Tehachapi, we're not political, A or B political, right? We don't have a party at the City of Tehachapi. We represent and work for the people that live and work in this city. And I was really happy that we were able to talk to Congressman McCarthy about the truck climbing lanes. We're on his map. He understands the AVA.
Yeah.
He can not only just say Tehachapi, but he understands what we're doing in Tehachapi and what our goals are and how he can help us.
I think he was probably a little modest on the AVA too, because I know the wine when the request for comments came out, it caught the wine growers off guard. They thought, wait a second, we were number like 17 in line. And now all of a sudden and I said, well, it is what it is. You have a very, a congressman who's got a lot of sway. And I no doubt that helped get the Tehachapi Mountains AVA sort of, kind of lit a fire to get that thing going a little quicker than just sitting in line.
It makes me so proud to be the city manager with an AVA around us. My wife and I went out to the wineries last weekend, and they're now bottling. It's just Tehachapi Mountains. Mm-hmm. That's such a big deal. I'm so proud of them. Bob and Patty Souza, Chuck McCullough, the pioneers of this industry. We could not have been there without them, and then with Congressman McCarthy helping us get over that hurdle. Super exciting.
Maybe we can do that on a future show, see if Bob and Patty would like to talk to us, because they are the pioneers of this wine industry here in Tehachapi.
Wine and cattle,
and there's a great thing in the story about the Tehachapi Mountains AVA where they were told by UC Davis engineers, it can't be done. You can't grow wine grapes. We've done the soils test. You can't do it. And folks like Bob and Patty were like, okay, challenge accepted. And they planted and it thrived. Look where we are now. I mean, it was hilarious just to see that. I mean, the expert said, nope, not this soil.
Right.
No
And then
chance.
Chuck McCullough took it to the next level. He's like, hold on, we've got a little Triassic type soil here, and maybe we plant grapevines here and see what happens. Voila. Yep. Award-winning Triassic vineyards.
Well, it's one of the things that I've noticed since living here is Tehachapi always gets classified in the desert region, like part of Bakersfield.
Yeah.
So maybe the soil samples that UC Davis took were Bakersfield soil,
Right.
and not the soil actually from Tehachapi, because it is very unique here.
Yeah.
But we constantly get put into if you're not paying attention, we get categorized in with one of the neighboring larger communities. And it couldn't be further from what it actually is.
Yeah.
No matter what we're talking about, it's apples and oranges, and we are the apples.
Apples and oranges and wine grapes.
Yeah, look at that. We are the apples. We have the best apples too.
Couple things I took away from listening to Congressman McCarthy. One, family lineage going back into the 1800s in Caliente. Mm-hmm. Did he say they still own the family?
Yes,
the family ranch.
Right.
Yeah. And then discover Tehachapi. Mm-hmm. You need to come up and discover Tehachapi.
And none of that was prompted either.
Right.
It just,
We promise it wasn't prompted. No, it really wasn't.
No. We got 10 minutes of his time. We were super fortunate.
Yeah, you don't have time to prompt the House Minority Leader. He just calls you when it has his time, and you go.
So. It's been a challenge to get this done, and I'm really happy that we
But
were
I think
able
it's
to.
a testament to, and not to toot our own horn, but I'm going to toot our own horn slightly. It's a testament to the growth of this podcast. A year ago, when you reached out, they were probably like, well, yeah, great idea. We'll get back to you, because we hadn't had any shows. We hadn't had any guests. We hadn't any, buzz and excitement and download subscribers. And then now a year later, that stuff is sort of taken care of itself. There's been download subscribers and some really popular shows. We've really shown the ability to share information on the podcast. And that's what Congressman McCarthy actually brought up. Like, thanks for doing this podcast. This is something. So I think now that they realize there's a viability and usefulness to getting this information out to his constituents, that it makes sense to come on from time to time.
We keep growing our communications platform, whether it's social media, city council meetings, come into City Hall. And we have another platform that Key's working on too, right?
Texting to your government.
Text Gov.
Yeah, text to Gov, and it's going to launch very soon, and I'm excited about that, because one of my goals is always, and I say this, to get younger, not personally, but to get to the younger demographic, our younger community, those that are just getting into that age of whether it's you're 18 and able to vote, or maybe it's time that you're moving out of your house and going to rent an apartment, or you're about to buy a house. Yeah. That younger family demo is what's going to grow older with us, and we want to reach them and get the information and make sure they understand how your local government works.
Yeah.
So that means we need to talk on the platforms that they talk on. And that's why we've got an active social media. That's why we have a podcast. And that's why we're going to now be able to use our mobile communication devices, those cell phones, to text issues to city, and our departments will get the information and take care of problems or answer questions via text message.
Potholes, agendas, whatever it happens to be. And so we will roll that out here soon.
Yes.
Right? Good.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
In the coming weeks.
Your first text might be like, new phone, who this? But we'll get, no, it goes, who this? Not sure. No, it doesn't go to us. It goes to a service, which will guide you in the right direction to get something addressed. It's really cool.
So yeah, we'll find all the keywords that are important to us. We'll talk to the people that answer the phones here at City Hall, and what types of questions, so that way you can get 24/7 automated response that'll come back to you, get you the information real time. It's so responsive. Because I was impressed.
Yeah, and it saves you. I mean, you use that a lot of time. There'll be a street light outage or something like this, and automatically you think, I'm going to take a picture of this out street light and I'm going to put it on social media. Well, the problem is we don't necessarily see that, right? It's fun to complain about it, but like it doesn't get the problem actually fixed. So now if you take the picture of that street light and you text you text it when we'll get you all the details, then that will get addressed to be actually addressed and fixed, not just something that you can complain about. Right. It would be a solutions based application. It'd be really cool.
There you go.
Well, this is episode number 58 that we're putting in the books today, so it's really gone by fast. I can't believe we've done 58 episodes of Tehachapi. It's here, and some of these episodes have come together because of the input that we get from our community.
Yeah,
and we'd love to hear from you. So I mentioned earlier, maybe we'll do a show on the wineries and get some of our local folks that
I still think we take that show to the wineries. That's this setup is fairly mobile. We can easily make
fairly
that happen.
mobile as long as it's
on a weekend.
5.
We'll do it on a weekend. We'll record. It's a podcast. We record it. We'll do it on a weekend. We might even be able to talk to some guests, because the folks that visit these wineries, they're a lot of folks out of Bakersfield, the San Joaquin Valley. It's a shorter trip than going to the coast. And they're coming up here. So we're getting a lot of tourism out of that. It's awesome.
So if you've got a show idea, a thought, a concern, give us an email and tell us what's on your mind. media@TehachapiCityHall.com. Take the time, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. And that's how we grow. media@TehachapiCityHall.com. Make sure you tell some friends, subscribe, and it's all free. And if you get a chance, write a review of what you think about our podcast. We'd love to hear it.
Tehachapod is a conversation about Tehachapi designed for the people who live here or who would like to know more about this mountaintop community. If you have a question you would like answered, email media@TehachapiCityHall.com. We will try to answer it on a future episode of Tehachapod.